Welcome to the Awaken the Awesome podcast with your host, Olivier Day. This is Awaken the Awesome, a podcast where we acknowledge that we are all in this together. Through enlightening conversations and personal insights, we like to engage with individuals just like you who show us how they are bringing a little bit of awesomeness along their individual journeys. Our hope is to inspire you to always keep pushing and to stay awesome along the way. I'm going to tell a story first. I'm going to bring it home, right? So over the past couple of days, my wife and I have just been having conversations about, basically me and the journey, growing up. Because believe it or not, you can still spend a lot of time with someone, in our case, going on 14, 15, 17 years whatsoever, you forget, you lose count, and you can still tell stories that, you've never heard. And the fact that, we have such amazing conversations that she brings me back in a lot of places where I have to peel layers and think back of right, that did happen. So when I grew up in Haiti, and when I used to go home, public transportation is not like North America. You just get on a cab, and then basically, when your stop arrives, all you have to do is hail the guy and say hey, okay, this is my stop, mouillé, as they say in Creole. And for some reason, I paralleled that with a tweet that I wrote a couple of years back, and it went as such. Basically, I wrote that some people are perfectly okay with the current state of their lives. Do not judge. Do not condescend. Just do you. The parallel I'm making with that is, you guys know that over the past year, I've been very vocal about, you have to eventually separate to elevate. Some people are not meant to go along the journey with you. All right. What I mean by that is that you have the control to know who is going to ride the wave with you. And we all know that a large part of your journey is going to have to be alone. But you hold the decision as to do you keep going or do you stop? Do you keep going or do you stop? You are at the helm of your own journey. All right. So the same way you can actually hail the driver and say, okay, this is my stop. The same way you can say, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. You guys know I talk a lot about resilience. You guys know I talk a lot about patience. I talk a lot about consistency. But for some reason, those two images, if you will, made a lot of sense when I read about the fact that, a lot of times on this personal thing called growth, you understand that you want to build yourself. You want more for yourself. You know that deep down, if you are part of this tribe, as I know that you are, you understand this message of, let's do better every day, ever so slightly, whatever small step, let's do better. All right. But we all know that, and I really want to stress this out, that it's also okay, because I know I drive the point home, but I guess that sometimes I don't want the message to also fall under the radar that, some people are not built that way. Some people don't want, to go any further. And you know what? In terms of acceptance, not just of yourself, humility and growth is also about accepting the other person. And why that's important for me to express is that we feel that we have to save everybody. We have to help everybody. We have to throw a lifeline to everybody. Guess what? Some people just want to drown. Some people are perfectly okay where they are, with what they've done, with what they have. That is called, whether it's called blindness, whether it's called laziness, for some people, it's called acceptance and content. Some people are content and it's totally fine. And I know that, as go-getters and winners and, just visionaries of the greater potential, the infinite potential that is within us, we have this gut check reaction no, you don't understand. There's so much to accomplish. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. And there's so many rewards just beyond. You need to understand this. And we want to do that. it's a natural reaction because I get you, because you understand that there's such a thrill and excitement to know that everything that is available to you to grab and to hold into this one thing called life. And you realize that the person next to you could be someone very close to you, a relative, a friend, a colleague, again, someone you genuinely care about. And the message is not going through. And I was pretty much, talking to myself, like having this conversation in my head, like, you know what? It is perfectly okay for someone to not be on board with your vision, to not understand what you're trying to say. If you're sitting in a room, and I hope this is not going to come across, a little bit pompous or condescending, but you cannot be talking about the merits of financial literacy in a room full of broke people. For people, especially who don't care about, getting their finances in check because they're perfectly okay with where they are. And sometimes it is a wasted fool's errand to try to convince people of something they don't want. And I invite you to exercise that because it can get frustrating. It can get incredibly annoying. It can get disappointing. It can get hurtful because you want so much more because you want to give. Because we talk a lot about, just paying it forward and bringing value and being open with our minds and our hearts and our words, just trying to help the next person, because we are all in this together. But you also have to understand, and I'm going to say this again, I can't stress this enough. Some people are perfectly okay where they are with what they have, and they don't want any more. They don't want any further. And that is okay in my book, because we have to learn to be accepting and not condescending and just, do you. If this is where you are, if this is as much as you believe in your heart of hearts that you are capable of, I can't do the work for you. I can't want it for you, Here's a basic example, someone comes to you, say, okay, I want to go to the gym. Like, I want to get back on the trail. I need to do this. I need to do this. Okay. In my book, I can't want it for you. You're right. So if you want me to walk the path with you, we can, but I will only match your effort. I will only match your effort. Just talking about this, I'm thinking about a conversation I had with previous guest, Sven Stedimak. Basically, he told me, like, when someone asked me, basically because he's a writer, right? When someone asks him for coaching and stuff, like, okay, I will only match the effort that you put in. I will only match the commitment that you put in. You can't put in 30% and expect me to put in 100% because you're the one who writes the book. You want my coaching? Sure. But I will only match your effort. And some people are perfectly content where they are. And you need to be to pull out the rose-colored glasses and accept people for who they are. You really need to accept people for who they are. If they want to change, you will see the change. They will be the change that they want to. That they will be the change that they seek. Eventually, you can only be the change that you seek, but it has to be your own decision. It has to be your own decision. You can't make it for them. All right. So this is a message of courage. This is a message of truth where I know that a lot of you can get exhausted because as you're building your own, little castle of growth, you're putting down your own little, yellow brick road of journey and elevation. You're looking over your shoulder and like, hey, there's my crew. Hey, there's my friend. Hey, there's my loved ones. Like, I'm leaving people behind. As sad and painful as it is for me to admit, because I've been there, you're going to have to cross that threshold and realize that maybe some people don't want to come along. You're asking them for too much. Don't ask something. You cannot give what you don't have. And you can want to give it to them, but at the price of depleting yourself, you need to be considerate of what that's going to cost you in the long run. And sometimes, guess what? You have to let things and people go because they are perfectly fine where they are with what they have. This is a very uncomfortable truth, but it is part of the journey. I guarantee you this is a truth that you have to accept. And waking up tomorrow, you're probably going to have to come to terms with sooner rather than later, I hope. So I'm not going to stay longer, guys. Thank you so much for checking in. As always, the podcast is still going strong. Solo episodes coming in from time to time. I want to try to inject a little bit more solos throughout the production year. Next week, I'll be coming out with a couple of more episodes, a couple of more interviews, some interesting people, as we always like to do. As always, drop me a DM, drop me an email if you guys want to check in. Always love to hear from you. Thank you so much for the support and the reshares on the Instagrams and the Twitters of the world. I see you guys. And as always, let's be a little bit more active on the ratings. And whether an Apple Podcast or Spotify, it really and truly helps. Thank you so much for your love and support. Love you guys. Have a great evening. Stay blessed. Stay safe. As always do. Stay awesome. This has been another episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. We always love to get your feedback, so please do drop us a line via Instagram, Facebook, or email. Our email address, awakentheawesome@gmail.com. Do visit our official website at awakentheawesome.ca, where you can find our entire back catalog of episodes and incredible guests. Also, if you haven't already, please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, give us a rating, and leave us a review, as this helps us tremendously in growing this podcast and spreading the word to more awesome listeners like you. We always appreciate your support, and thank you for listening. Stay awesome.